Hi everyone, and welcome to Finance and Accounting for Managers. My name is Holly Conley, and I am your instructor for the course for Summer 1. And this week, I just wanted to kind of go over and give you some of the highlights of what you need to make sure you complete this week and make sure you're comfortable with where to find everything. So I'm logged into a student mode, so it should look very similar to your screen. And I wanted to kind of start in the home screen. So this is what you're going to see when you log in. The first thing I want to point out is that we do have the syllabus tab. It is updated, and you can look in and see the current syllabus. So in the syllabus, it's going to pull up and it's going to show you what the expectations are for the course. So I'm going to open it up and then we'll start going through that. Okay, so to open any files, if you see it in blue with a line under it, that means that it is a document you can open or a link you can click. So if you click there, it's going to open up into our course syllabus that looks like this. You can see that this is again for Summer Block 1, 2020. Our course number is MHR7830. 31042 is our course number. And the first thing I want to point out is email is the best way to contact me, so make sure you take a look at that. It is holly.l.conley@wilmu.edu. If you need any help or have any questions, feel free to reach out by email. If we need to do something that's a little more in depth, we can set up a Zoom session to make sure that we can meet face to face. Make sure that you are including this course number, MHR7830 31042, when emailing, just to make sure that I'm referring to the correct course. I'm not going to read through everything in here. The beginning talks about what our course is going to cover. The next part was our course objectives. I'm going to scroll down until I get to how our course runs. So again, it's an online course, which means you need access to the internet. It needs to be reliable access so that when you are doing exams, you don't get kicked out. You want to make sure that you look at our schedule because we do have weekly due dates. You'll notice that we have some due dates that are in the middle of the week, and we'll go through that in just a second. The one thing I do want to point out is make sure you pay attention to the announcements, because if I have something to share with you or I need to remind you about something, that's where I'm going to put it, because it's the easiest way to communicate with everyone. Please note, for all discussion boards, you're required to make an initial post by Wednesday of that week. So you'll need to log in before Wednesday of the weeks that we have a discussion board to make sure that you post your initial post by Wednesday. They are all released up front, so if you want to look at them so that you can kind of get an idea of what you want to post for your initial post, you can do that too. But make sure you hit that initial post of Wednesday, and then you have 2 responses that are typically required by Sunday. All right, when we think about our course, we are going to be using our book. So our book is typically an ebook through the My Lab. You can also have a hard copy, completely up to you. You want to make sure that if there's instructor notes provided for that week, that you're taking a look at them. If there's videos, they are relevant. Please make sure you watch them. We have practice that you're going to do in My Finance Lab. There's dynamic study modules in there. Your exams are also in there. In addition, we have discussion boards, not every week, but there are a couple of them. We'll talk about that in a little more detail in just a minute. And we do have a project, which we'll go over on here in the video tonight, just to kind of make sure you know all the requirements for them. Okay, so if we look at how our course is weighted, we can see that our discussion boards are 10%, assignments are 20%, each exam, midterm, and final are worth 25%, and our project is worth 20%. So if we look at the detail for each of these, we can see for our discussion board, again, we're going to have discussion boards in weeks 2, 3, and 5. Now, those are the traditional discussion boards where you need to post by Wednesday and respond by Sunday. We do have a couple other things that are set up in a discussion board, such as where you choose your project company. That's going to be in a discussion board. It's due by week 1, on Thursday of week 1. And then we also will have your introductory discussion board that I ask you to do during week 1. While it's not graded, it is strongly encouraged to be done so we can get to know everyone. All right, assignments. We have chapter practice assignments that are going to be due each week. You can look at the schedule below to see exactly what you have to do and when. They are mostly in My Finance Lab, but they're not all in My Finance Lab. You do have some work outside of My Finance Lab. The midterms and the final, they are due, the midterm is due end of week 3. It covers the material that is in weeks 1 through 3. The final is due week 7, and it covers everything since the midterm. Midterm and final are both completed in My Finance Lab. For our project, we're going to go through that in just a minute, but it is due Sunday of week 6. You are going to choose a company before Thursday of week 1. I will then review it before Sunday to give you approval. If I have any concerns, I will also note that so that you can make another choice or a modification. If you can't find something for your project, make sure that you email me and I can give you directions to how to find it. Alright, last thing on our syllabus, let's look at our schedule. So this has our schedule for weeks 1 through 7. And we can see that we have a couple of assignments every week. It does tell you what week it's due over here to the left, the description of what it is, how many points it's worth, and what day it's due. So over here, project company choice, it's due Thursday of week 1, which is 5/14. Week 1 practice, it's due Sunday of week 1, which is 5/17. Our chapter 1 dynamic study module, due week 1, 5/17. So each week is listed so that it's easy for you to see what you have to do and when. Please make sure to print this out or take a picture of it so it's easy to refer to. I always encourage students to make sure you review it and print it out. Check it off as you do it. Make sure you put it on some kind of a calendar or set up reminders to make sure that you don't miss any deadlines. Because this is a master's level course, I do not accept any late work. All right, let's get back into our Canvas to look at how the rest of the course is set up. Okay, when you go in here, you can click on modules. Modules is going to take you into the information that you need to see as a student. You can see that there is a Start Here section. That's what you should do during reading week if you can, so you can get set up. There's a course welcome that's going to take you into what is expected in our course. As well, it's going to take you into the policy, academic integrity policy for Wilmington. If we go into the next section, it's going to take you into my contact information so that you have it easily available to you. Again, email is the best way. We can set up anything further after our initial email. Next, you have your class introductions that you're going to do. Notice it says, introduce yourself to the class by creating a webcam or a screencast of yourself that includes the following information. So this is just to help us get to know each other better, put a name to a face, and make the interactions a little more lively. If we go into the next section, this is where you see the My Finance Lab information. My Finance Lab is where, again, we're going to be doing most of our assignments and all of our exams. So it's important to make sure that you get access to it. You can get the code for My Finance Lab from the bookstore. You can also purchase it directly through My Finance Lab. If you cannot get your book initially, don't stress. You can still get started. You have a 14-day trial period that Pearson allows for you to have time to get your book and get set up. So go ahead and get signed up, get access, and you'll have 14 days to get your full access set up. One other thing that was in this other one is to show you that you do not need a financial calculator. My Finance Lab includes one for you, so there's no reason to purchase another one. When we look at week 1, this is what we're looking at for this week. So week 1, we are going to be covering chapter 1 and then just section 3.1 for chapter 3. So make sure you read those. There is a practice exercise for this week. There's a dynamic study module and a discussion board, the introduction discussion board, as well as your project company choice. So we're going to get into looking at the project just to make sure everyone is clear on the expectations for that. Then this part here just shows you what you should be reading. Again, remember I said if it has notes from instructor, make sure you're reading those. Videos, make sure you're watching those. Important information in there. As we go into our week 1 project information, it has the information for our project here. I'm going to open up that document and we can kind of look through it. So we see here, we are evaluating an annual report. So For you to have access to an annual report, that means it has to be a publicly traded company. A publicly traded company is going to have their annual report published typically in the investor relations section of their website. So if you go into most any publicly traded company's website, scroll down to the bottom, find investor relations, and then search for the annual report. If you have any questions on how to find that, please let me know. For week 1, you are just choosing your company. You will be choosing it in a discussion board, which I'll show you in just a minute. Just to go over some of the highlights for the project, again, you should be using just the annual report. If you find that you need to use something outside of that, it will tell you in the instructions to do that. If it doesn't tell you, then that means it's most likely in the annual report. If you can't find something, reach out. Let me know and I can help you find it. Now what that means is you have to plan ahead, because if it's coming up as a due date and you haven't found something, you need to make sure you plan early enough to email me so that you can get the information when you need it. Alright, also please note we are using APA format. There is a new 7th edition APA format, so I will post some information to make sure that you have a link for that in one of our announcements as we get into the course. When you are choosing your company, again, it has to be a publicly traded company. I recommend using a retail company, so something that sells a product. It can also be a manufacturer of a product, but they need to have inventory that they sell to someone else. Again, no other sites or sources should be used unless you ask me permission or it tells you in the instructions that you should use something else. Again, manufacturers or retailers are the best. You are going to hopefully pick a company that you have an interest in, because it definitely makes the project more interesting as you're doing it. The other thing is only one person can choose each company. So you're going to need to check the list that's been posted before you post your choice so that there's no duplications. This should be done before Thursday of week 1. Here's the general outline. We have a description of the company. You do see in part 1B that you will be using Yahoo Finance. So that's the only other resource in besides the annual report that I'm recommending. If you need something else, you need to ask if I can help you find it first. You're going to go through each of the sections, make sure you're answering all of the questions. Again, we'll go through some of this more as we get into the other chapters, but there are 9 sections, including the conclusion. You should make sure it's in APA format, and then if you have any questions, please let me know. There is a rubric provided for the project. It is right there with the project, so you can go through to see how you're going to be graded for this project. Make sure that you are aware of what's expected. Okay, this is where we are going to be submitting our project company choice. So here's what I want you to do to make it easy for everyone else. You can see here that I've given some examples of companies you can choose, and I've given a couple examples of companies that you cannot choose. I've seen way too many of them. So once you've chosen your company, you can hit reply. You are going to type what company I would like to choose, and I'm going to choose one that you guys cannot, just to make it simple. Apple. Attached is my annual report, and you will then post a link to your annual report. Up here it says attach a PDF or a link to your annual report. This is so we are all looking at the same information. When I'm grading it, that I'm looking at the same information you use to complete your project. Okay, once you are ready to paste it, you're just going to paste in here the PDF of it, and that will allow me to see the same report that you are using to do your project, so that when I'm grading, it's the same. Okay, so now you can see this is what you're going to put, your company, you're attaching a PDF of it, so now you have an example of one. If you have any questions for week 1, please let me know. The most important thing is to get into my finance lab. Thank you and have a great week.